on that. I don't think it's a question of the severity of our debt. I think it's a question of whatever term you use, what's right.
We should do what we do that we think is honest, and if people like it, fine. If they don't, then...
But that's not very businesslike.
But we're not, this is not a business.
We are a business.
We are not.
We are incorporated.
As important as it is to raise money for this place to keep it alive, we are not a business. The purpose of this place is not to make money.
That's
right.
The
purpose of this place is to build a very good science education museum, and those are two very different things.
Bob,
well, you won't do it without
money. I just can't take it that seriously.
Yeah,
this is a fundraising strategy.
It's just like building an exhibit. It's all those little decisions that you make as you go along the way that you end up with a good exhibit. And this place is good as a whole, I think, because we pay attention to all these things. And I think all these little decisions are important.
Just think how much nicer it would have been if somebody had said to the explainers, we want you to look nice and now figure out how to do it, and they could have agreed on it themselves. I think that would have been a very nice way to do it, and I think it's the way we should do it still.
Yeah,
but I agree with you that
well, then
that's
let's
the
do
nicest
it.
way to do it.
I mean, I think let's do it the nicer way.
Yes, but that's the nicer way for the explainers and for us. But is it the nicer way for an important client? And do we care about that? And you're saying, no, we don't care about that.
I don't care about that. I want the tradition that we control our own employees, that the people who come in here may ask us to do things. We can say whether we want to do them or not, and we make the decisions about what happens at this museum. We agreed that they can have the wood and so on. And I think it is our right, and that what we should do each time is we make our own decisions, and just because somebody's paying for it, we don't do things which we don't think are the right things to do.
Even if it jeopardizes funds?
Even if it jeopardizes funds. Christ, we've jeopardized a lot of funds because we're so funny.
The director of the Exploratorium is an idealist, but he has also been a cattle rancher, and ranchers are pragmatists.
I learned about getting things stuck and unstuck, how to make things oneself. Mostly one learned how to improvise, because when you're in a ranch that's 80 miles away from a veterinary and hardware store, you really try and scrounge and find things and put them together. So it's just one continual job of trying to undo the property of nature to increase entropy and disorder.
It was not entirely by choice that Frank Oppenheimer left physics in 1949 to raise cattle. Back in 1936, as the Depression wore on, the U.S. government took note that Frank had joined the Communist Party. 4 years later, he left the party. During World War II, Frank and his brother, J. Robert Oppenheimer, worked on the atomic bomb project. But after the war, the House Committee on Un-American Activities summoned Frank and his wife, Jackie, to testify about their pre-war political activities. They spoke freely about themselves, but refused to implicate others. As a result, Frank was fired from the University of Minnesota. Job offers from other universities were mysteriously withdrawn. Unable to teach science anywhere in the United States, he spent 10 years ranching in Colorado. Frank Oppenheimer had been blacklisted.
When Jackie and I went to the House Un-American Activities Committee, they asked me about our past, and we told them all about that, but they asked us about a lot of other people, long lists of people, and we refused to talk about them. And even though that was in principle contemptuous, they didn't do anything about it. But the FBI kept coming around with the lists of these same people, time after time after time, and
even after you were in
when we were up in the mountains, and asking us. And they also talked to other people and tried to make them suspicious of us. They asked whether we were doing any experiments, you know, the mad scientist doing terrible things, or whether we had any radios communicating with the enemy. But I didn't try to do any physics.
Did you miss physics when you were?
Yes, I missed physics.
But in 1959, Sputnik helped change national priorities, even in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, where Dr. Frank Oppenheimer was asked to teach high school science. He became intrigued with his students' appetite for hands-on experiments and rekindled his own enthusiasm for teaching. This led to work in science education at the University of Colorado and a study of science museums in Europe. In 1968, Frank and Jackie Oppenheimer landed in San Francisco with the dream of opening their own museum. Within a year, they had a small staff and $1 a year lease on the long empty Palace of Fine Arts.
When I started the Exploratorium, almost everything that I owned or that I had ever done was involved in building the place. The teaching, the curriculum, things that I'd done, but even the ranching. And instead of telling anybody about that we were opening, we just opened the doors and watched what happened. And it's a beautiful park, and it was in summertime in the end of August, and people started coming in, and all of a sudden we realized, wow, we have a museum that's open, it's going. But the way it turned out to be is very different from the image. I had it with a lot of little boxes like other museums.
Okay, here you have us what the eye looks like. But first of all, what I'm going to do is cut off all the muscle and fat.
Did you find a dead cow to do it?
You can even pull that fat more apart from the eyeball itself. That's it.
They got twice.
There you go.
This is a cow's eye.
See what's inside it.
She's right
Here's a
there.
picture right here. Now what I'm going to do is cut along right here.
Yeah.
Okay, what you'll see is a jelly-like substance called the vitreous humor. Okay.
I know we saw it.
Okay, can you see it? Okay, it's like a clear jelly substance. And it's what gives your eye its shape and its form. And like holds it in place. Okay, there, you can see it? Okay, see how it's like jelly?
I wish I
It's
did.
its shape that makes it hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that
This
out.
is a lens, maybe.
That feels like water. I know.
It's like
cold too.
Okay, here you can see like the lens inside. Everybody see that?
Mom, what's that round thing?
Okay, and so I'll take the lens out now so you can see.
That's a marble, it looks like.
Yeah, it does. It's a lens though. It's the lens of your eye. And I'll hold this up and you can look through it. And you'll see that when you look through it, like I'm upside down. Can you see that? Everything's upside down.
How does that do that? That's really what happens when you see something.
You know, wait a minute, there's little
Yeah,
things on the cow. This is really tough because like they're closer to the ground, they need more protection.
Sticky.
Is it sticky? How's eye?
Let's go now. I found out something very interesting.
You did. Where'd you find it out? You
Over here.
Thank you.
I see both at once, actually. I see two heads.
Freak out. Don't freak back in.
You gotta go. Go with
What an
it.
improvement. Ha ha ha. That looks gross. Stop.
We gotta go.
Watch this, we'll phase out.
Put it in slow.
I know, slow is bad, but
Frank's pendulums work smoothly now, transferring energy from one to another and back again. But this is a subtle and complex machine with two natural frequencies. The transfer of energy is caused by a kind of tug-of-war between the frequencies. Two modes. In the